Hey girl, what's up? It is Madison Spano. So today I wanted to share a little bit about myself and how I got to this place of complete inner freedom and self-awareness that I really am at today. Really I want to share this with y'all because it took me a lot to get where I am, to become centered, whole, and happy. I used to be such a mess, like so broken, and really, I was just so scared to live my life because I was afraid of making the same mistakes as the generations before me. My family legacy is like not perfect. It is not pretty, and really much of my depression, anxiety, fear, and altogether dead end lifestyle stemmed from my family background. Um, how a person is raised, like whether she has socially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically healthy roots determines how she flourishes in life. A lot of times you are your environment unless you choose to change. This was me, and over my lifetime throughout my childhood, I had been through a lot of traumatic, hard things. Abuse, intense sexual abuse, temporary displacement, lack of belonging, and just feeling lost, confused, and like life held nothing for me. But God, for me, what normal, and I use that term lightly, but what normal children should learn from home, I had to get outside of my upbringing. From a very young age of 7, I sought out mentors, older friends, and people I respected and admired. I kind of knew I was different, and I knew what I wanted out of life. I think because I was introduced to so much pain growing up early on, I think that it really matured me, and so honestly, I really think it in a way, like, I don't know if I would choose it again, but I think it was beneficial to me, because it really caused me to choose a different path for myself, than what I had been raised in. Um, I I also knew what I wanted, and I knew that it was not going to come from where I was at. Um, and so I began reading a lot of books, like a lot, because I was so young. Books seemed to be the only resource that I had at my disposal to help me get out of the pit of following after the only life I'd ever known. I knew I needed to seek understanding, wisdom, and choose a different path than the one laid out for me by my genetic roots. I had to do things different, and I knew this. I had heard a quote once when I was in elementary school, and it went something like this: never take advice from someone that you do not want to be exactly like. Have what they have. Do what they do. This always stuck with me. Well, I got saved at 7 years old, um, and begged my mom to take me to church. And really, this started my journey of seeking a different life for myself than the one I'd always known. It kind of gave me a foundation to stand on. Um, and I had chosen at 7 years old the life that I wanted to live for myself. I didn't want to marry into an abusive relationship like my mom over and over again. I didn't want my children growing up seeing me depressed and suicidal. I didn't want to feel worthless or unfulfilled. I didn't want a dead end life working 2 full-time jobs where I felt like I was going nowhere. I wanted to do things differently. And so, through a lot of hard work, I did. I changed the legacy, that I was born into. I changed my own destiny, with a lot of help from God. I have to add that in because it was not me. It was definitely God, and me seeking Him, and trusting Him that what He wanted me to do was for my good, and it was. And so today, taking a survey of my life, I have gotten everywhere that I've ever wanted to be. I am married to an amazing Christian man who loves the Lord, serves me, adores me, and leads me. I have a beautiful, healthy little boy, Silas, who keeps me who like keeps me on my toes, really. And I've married into an amazing family. My father-in-law is actually a congressman, and he has raised my husband to stand by truth and by and by God, and to fight for his family by serving humbly in all that he does. I now have 2 sisters, which I've always wanted, and 8 brothers. God sets the lonely in families, and he redeems her life from the pit. He grants the desires of those who seek him and repays them for the years lost or stolen. God has granted every gift I have ever asked him for. He has turned my ashes into beauty, and he has redeemed every part of my brokenness. Really, a healthy, happy family, a loving marriage built upon mutual respect and adoration. Really, this is all that I ever really wanted. I know it sounds silly. I really didn't have like any grand dreams. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. But that was really like what I'd always dreamed about as a little girl, just having that. And that was what I prayed for, and God has given me even more. He has called me to continue in the journey of creating my dream life with the dream giver himself. Because that is God. Like, he is not just a dream giver, but he's also a dream catcher. And he has fulfilled my dreams to create, to bring beauty into the world, and a need for connection and inspiration beyond myself. He has called me to write books, to connect with women in their own areas of loss, of loneliness, of want, and fear. So from this place, I have learned to speak, to write, to paint, and to all around become a creator of life-giving energy. To comfort others with the comforts I've received, and to help women create their own dream lives, and ultimately to be rooted in the dream giver himself. Because y'all, like, we were made to live free. We were made to live beautifully, to live contagiously. We were made to own our lives and to be the co-authors of our destiny. If you do not believe this, like, please, like, try to take this in, that God is for you. He is not against you. He is not against your success. He is not against your happiness. He is not against you living the life that you've always wanted. He is for you, girl, and he wants to give you the life that you've always dreamt of. But the only difference is that he wants to be first. So before you wanting a husband, he wants to be your first want. Before you wanting a house or wanting children, or like whatever it is you like seek, he wants to be the driving force behind that. Like, he wants to walk alongside you as you are seeking those things. He wants to be the first thing that you seek. And he promises that when he is, he will give you, and I promise you this, he will give you everything else that you ask him for. He will give you. And not just that, like, he will give you so much more. When we allow God to step in and to become co-writers in our life story, really co-creators, he does so much more. Like, we have a lot more freedom, a lot more say-so in what happens to us than what the church would lead us on to believe. I think growing up for me, it was hard for me to trust God, because I always felt like, well, God is like the spiritual side of me. Like, he's only interested in the spiritual things. Like, so if I'm going to follow God, like, I have to like leave the world and leave, you know, like there's that verse, like, you know, we're not to be of the world. But really, God had to completely, through my husband, he had to completely transform my the way that I viewed God. That he's not like some spiritual, like, irrelevant being. He is like an in our midst God. And I think when I married my husband, I really began to grasp that. And I wasn't able to grasp it before, because I had only experienced him spiritually. I really didn't experience his love or his affection or his presence in my family or in my home life. And so I think that's why I had so many like misunderstandings of God, because I had never really seen him played out in my life. But when I married my husband and I saw him through my husband, I really began to understand like the profound love that God had for me. And really, my husband, like, he is, oh my gosh, like, he is like the most like generous, like giving, like self-sacrificing, humble, like loving person I've ever known. And like he like loves to like buy me things. Like he doesn't get mad when I buy anything. Like he is like for me. Like, you know, I'm writing a second book right now. I'm in the process, which is, it's a long process publishing a book, y'all. But I'm in the process of publishing a book, my first one. And he is like fighting, like he is like right beside me, like fighting for me, like cheering me on. Like he is so excited about like what like I want to do in my life. And that's a perfect portrayal of God. Like, you know, as long as we are like inviting God in and letting him lead and letting him like inviting him in the process, because really all God wants is to have a relationship with you. And so whenever I invite him into the spaces of my heart and my affections and where I want to go, like, honestly, y'all, like, this might be a bold statement, but like, God doesn't care what you do as long as you include him in it and as long as you're surrendering it all to him first. Because if it's not something God wants you to do, like if it's like really against his plan for you, then like you're probably not going to have those desires in the first place. Because like if you're close to God, like he says, like he like transforms your heart, you know, he renews your mind and he gives you new desires. So like God is like not against you, like he is for you. And like that is like my purpose in really this episode. I just wanted to share that, and I wanted to encourage you to really pursue your dreams in a parallel pursuit of pursuing God. Because when you pursue God, like he will give you the life that you've always imagined. No matter what obstacles you're facing, no matter what life you were born into, no matter what hiccups or mistakes or wrong turns you've made in life, like he will resurrect your life and he will turn it around. So that is it for this episode. If you have any questions, I really love to hear from my listeners. And if you have any questions that you would like a male's take on, my husband, or if you have a question for me, please just message me in the comments. And I would love to speak about that on my next episode. And please subscribe at madisonspano.com. Please subscribe, or you can subscribe to my podcast. All right, bye!